The Humiliated Father III, Part 4 of 4. This is why it is important to see the scene that the play culminates in. This scene, the last, the one in which Ponce is confined with her mother, who takes her under her protective wing, and does so because she has become pregnant, thanks to the actions of the one named Orion. Ponce is visited by his brother also, who has brought the last words of the one who is dead, but which the logic of the piece and the whole preceding situation have led up to, since Orion, with all his force, has tried to get Ponce, as with Orso, to accept something huge, that they should marry. Orion the saint sees no reason why his good and brave little brother should not find happiness, which is typical of him. Orso is brave and courageous, and anyway the lad's declaration leaves no room for doubt. He is capable of marrying a woman who does not love him. We keep coming back to it. He has the courage, it's his decision. He started fighting for the leftists. Someone told him he was wrong. He fought for the rightists. He was with the Garibaldians. He then joined the Papal Zouaves. He is always there, putting his best foot forward. He's a great lad. Don't laugh too much about this idiot, it's a trap. And we are going to see in a minute why and how, for truly, in his dialogue with Ponce, we no longer dream of laughing. What is Ponce in this last scene? Definitely the sublime object. The sublime object, insofar as we have already indicated its position last year as a substitute for the thing. You heard it in passing. The nature of the thing is not so far from that of the woman. Any woman, I say, and in truth Claudel, no more than any other, doesn't come up with anything new here, far from it. This heroine of Claudel's, this woman that he rouses up for us, is the woman belonging to a certain desire. All the same, to give him justice, elsewhere, in Break of Noon, Claudel creates a woman for us, Ise, who is not so bad, who strongly resembles what the woman actually is. Here, we are in the presence of the object of a desire. And what I want to show you, which is inscribed in her image, is that it is a desire that only has, at this level of bareness, castration separating it, but radically separating it, from any natural desire. In truth, if you look at what happens in the last scene, it's really beautiful. But in order to situate it exactly, I beg you to remind yourselves of the anamorphic cylinder that I presented to you here in actual reality, the tube on this table, i.e. this cylinder on which a figure by Rubens, that of Christ being put on the cross, just appeared to be projected by the artifice of a kind of shapeless pattern that had been craftily inscribed at the base of this cylinder. From that I created for you the figure of this mechanism of the reflection of this fascinating figure, of this beauty erected in such a way that it is projected at the edge for us who are prevented from going any further into the heart of the thing. If the figure of Ponce is as such, and the whole pull of this play is made to carry us towards this limit that is slightly out of reach, what do we see if not the figure of a deified woman, with this woman once again being crucified? The motif is indicated in the text, just as it returns with insistence at so many other points in Claudel's oeuvre, from the princess in Tête d'Or to Scene herself, to Ise, to the figure of Donna Pruez. What does this figure bring with it? A child, no doubt. But don't forget what we have been told, which is that from the first moment that this child comes alive in her, begins to move, and this moment is the moment when she has just taken into herself the soul, she says, of the one who is dead, how is this capturing of the soul, how is it represented how is it figuratively portrayed for us? It is truly an act of vampirism. She closes in on herself, if I may say so, with the wings of her cloak over the basket of flowers that the brother also has sent. The flowers that protrude from a compost, which the dialogue has just revealed to us, macabre detail, contains the eviscerated heart of her lover, Orion. It is at this point, when she gets up, that she is supposed to have taken into herself the symbolic essence. It is this soul that she presses, along with her own, she says, onto the lips of this brother who has just committed himself to her to provide a father for the child, whilst at the same time saying that he will never be her bridegroom. And this transmission, the singular realization of a fusion of souls, which is the one about which the first two quotes that I gave you at the beginning of this seminar from the hostage on the one hand and from hard bread on the other, is indicated to us as being the supreme aspiration of love. This fusion of souls that in the end also, who we know is going to join his brother in death, is here the designated bearer of, the vehicle, the messenger. What does it mean? I told you earlier, poor old Orso, who made us smile by taking on this function in which he ends up as a husband in name only, let's not deceive ourselves. Let's not get carried away in ridiculing him, for the position he occupies is the very same one, at the end of the day, that we are called to be captivated by here. It is to our desire, and as revelation of its structure, that this fantasy is proposed, which reveals to us what this sinister power that attracts us to the woman is, and not necessarily, as the poet says earlier on, that this power is triadic, and that it is that which can only ever be ours by representing our loss. There is always in desire some delectable taste of death, but a death that we could not inflict on ourselves. We rediscover here the four terms that, if I may say so, are represented in us, as with the two brothers, A dashed, us the subject, barred S, insofar as we understand nothing here, and the figure of the other incarnated in this woman. Between these four elements, all sorts of varieties of this infliction of death are possible, amongst which it is possible to enumerate all the most perverse forms of desire. Here it is only the most ethical case insofar as it is the true man, the finished article, the man who affirms himself and maintains himself in his virility, Orion, who pays the cost for it with his death. This reminds us that it is true, these costs, he always pays them in every case, even if, from the moral point of view, it is a more polite path for his humanity, if he swallows them, these costs, at the level of pleasure. Thus ends the poet's intended design. What he shows us in the end, after the drama about subjects insofar as they are pure victims of the logos of language, is what becomes of desire there, and in order to do that, this desire, he renders it visible to us. The figure of the woman, of this formidable subject Ponce de Coufontaine, is the object of desire. She lives up to her name, Ponce, thought. She is the thought of desire. Love of the other, this love that she expresses, it is the same when, becoming solid, she becomes the object of desire. Such is the topology with which a long trajectory of tragedy is completed. As with any process, as with any progress in human articulation, it is only after the fact that what converges in the pathways followed in the traditional past and announces what will come to light one day is perceived. When, throughout the tragedies of Euripides, we find, like a kind of pack saddle that wounds it, like a lacuna that exasperates it, the relationship with desire, and most especially with desire for the woman, what we call Euripides' misogyny, this kind of aberration, madness that seems to attack all of his poetry, we can only grasp it and understand it from what has become of it, from what has been elaborated at the other side of all the sublimation of the Christian tradition. These perspectives, these extremes, these most stretched out points of the terms, the intersection of which entails for us the effects that we work with, those of neurosis, insofar as in Freudian thought they assert themselves as being more primary than those of well-balanced folk, those of normal folk, it is necessary that we meet up with them, that we explore them, that we know the extremities of them, if we want our practice to be situated in a way that is directed towards, not captivated by, such mirages always available to us of doing good, of mutual assistance, but rather of what there could be there to be revealed, even in the most obscure forms, in the other that we have the audacity to accompany in the transference. Opposite extremes meet, I can't remember who said. We have to meet them, if only for an instant, to be able to see what my aim is here, to locate exactly where our place must be at the moment when the subject is on the only path to which we must bring her, him, the one where she, he, must articulate her, his desire.